going on, everyone? Chris with Journals, Comics, and Pop Culture. This is our top 10 hottest selling comics of the week, our weekly video series brought to you by PopCultureZone.com. Before we get into this week's top 10 books, don't forget to check out PopCultureZone.com's. Their links are below. Check them out if you're interested in getting your hands on some awesome exclusive and incentive variants at affordable costs, CGC slabs, and of course all different kinds of pop culture items, including toys and statues. And if you're buying raw books, they ship at a flat rate fee of only $4.99. Pop Culture Zone is also on eBay, where they still hold a 100% customer feedback rating with over 8,000 ratings this year alone. Those links are below. Check them out and make sure you follow them on eBay as well. All right, everyone, we are ready to get into the top 10 books. Look back, props, or flops. If you're not familiar with this segment, we do this every single week. We take Cover Price's top 10 lists that they published 1 week ago from today. We look at the numbers of those books for when they hit that list, and I actually sit and, as of today, compute the current numbers of what those books did over this last week. I take the top 3 off of that list and I break those down, and I give them either a props or flops, and I tell you why. So before we get into it, though, I want to remind you all that if you are in need of comic book supplies, check out bcwsupplies.com. That link is below. Use the code JOURNOS and you can receive 10% off of your order. This code never expires. You can use it as many times as you want. But let's check out last week's top 10 from Cover Price real quick before we get into my top 3 books. Marvel dominating again. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, it's been weeks and almost multiple months now that I feel that Marvel has just been dominated, and these lists have been almost nothing but heavily spec on anything live action, right? But we see here we do have a Grimm #1, the Virgin variant there, coming in at number 8. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen from DC coming in at number 6 because of a live action announcement there. But as you can see, everything else Marvel. But I got 3 picks, folks, and we're going to start out with my number 3 pick today. And that is She-Hulk #1, Savage She-Hulk #1. This is the first appearance and origin of She-Hulk. Now, obviously, we know why this book is hot and on this list. We've had trailers come out. The show is coming real soon. Now, when it hit the top 10 last week, it had a 116% upward trend in sales. The high 9.8 sale of that week was $1,150. This week's high was $950, so it's a couple $100 lower. But here's the thing, folks. That $1,150 was a bit of an outlier because over the last few weeks, this book has been pretty steady, hitting around that 900 to 1,000 mark. Now, this book is down in a 9.8. It was hitting upwards of 1,400 back during the 2001 summer boom. I think, probably the announcement and everything that was going on with the show impacted that. But, of course, a lot of books in the market at that period of time were really peaking, and a lot of them have came down, but not extreme drops. I say healthy drops because it's allowed buyers to get back into the market and feel comfortable with spending some money that doesn't seem too outrageous, right? So we look at average raws, and again, that doesn't pertain to grade. I always say take it with a grain of salt. When it hit the top 10, average raw was sitting roughly at $158, whereas this week, it jumped up a little bit to $175. That's an 11% increase in value. Props or flops for this book. So there's a lot of mixed emotion coming from the trailer. And I enjoyed it. I laughed. I thought it was quirky. It was. I mean, this is what we knew what to expect from this show, right? CGI complaints. Okay, hey, let's just wait to watch the show. That's my feelings on it. I think once the show airs, we're still gonna get a lot of mixed reaction. I think it's been that way for almost every single MCU Disney Plus show. It's been very mixed. Do I think that that's going to impact the overall health of this book? Maybe in the short term,
but this is my stance on this book. This is a book that, dare I say, I feel was undervalued. And when I say undervalued, I don't use it lightly. I mean, we didn't intrinsically uh, understand the value of this book and this character. Quite honestly, I don't know until recently if a lot of people even realize that this was the first time we saw She Hulk. I don't know if people ever really put two and two together. So, props or flops on this book. I gotta give this book props, folks. Now, and I always like to, state this when I do these videos. Me giving this book props doesn't mean, oh yeah, go out and buy it. Go out and buy it in a 9.8. I'm never here to tell you what to buy. I'm here to give you facts, data, and give you my opinion on it. I am always hesitant of telling people that they should buy books. And well, I don't ever tell people to buy anything, but I'm always hesitant saying I would stay away from a 9.8. I personally have never bought a book in a 9.8, and I don't know if I ever will. That's just me. But is a key Bronze Age book. Buying this book raw, I think, is going to be a solid investment for the long term. And again, that's just my humble opinion. Does that mean you need to buy it now, that you need to get the FOMO and the itch and go find it now? No. But I will say this, the market is down from a peak. It could jump up some up until we get the show. But I'm seeing the trend more and more consistently in the current market, folks. I personally, if you don't have this book, if I didn't have this book, which I do, it's like what, a 4.0 or 4.5 CGC graded. I had it since I was a kid. Sent it in to get graded. I don't care about the grade. I'm just happy to have it. If I didn't have this book, I personally would set my budget for it right now. I could say, okay, look, it's average hitting about 175. I'm not going to spend over $120 for this book raw. And it has to be a certain grade that works for me. And if I don't find it, I'm not doing it. Maybe I say $100. I set that number, I set that expectation. But if I didn't see anything come up that fit within that realm of expectation, and the show hits and the book jumps again, but then the show ends and it drops down again, I'll be fine. That's what I think about this book. This book hasn't been doing much. Once it came off that steep high last summer, it's been kind of even keel. And once we're done with the show, eyes are going to turn away from it for a little bit. Who knows how we're going to see She-Hulk in the MCU after the show. But I don't think this is one that you need to act like you might miss out on. But I do give it props because I think it's a solid long-term investment. And I'm glad that we haven't seen crazy numbers spike with this book once we saw the trailer drop. In my opinion, that's always a good thing because it can show, not that it does, but it can show that people aren't really getting into their spec emotions, that FOMO emotion, over just buying it for spec purposes, if that makes sense. All right, everyone, we are moving on. My second book is X Factor 221. This is the first appearance of Bastet, Goddess Bastet. This book got hot because she was in the trailer for Thor Love and Thunder that was just released. And it was confirmed by sources. I don't have those sources, so take that with a grain of salt. Go do your own research. But I don't know if it was credible sources, but I know there have been sources that saying it has been confirmed, including cover price. And I don't know what source cover price used. When this book hit the top 10 last week, it had a 235% upward trend in sales. The high raw was $50. All right. This week's high raw, $20. Now get this. It only sold 3 units. It only sold 3 units this week, next to 15 plus last week. There's no graded copies. I couldn't get into the census to see if there are actually any graded out there, but there was none sold. There's no record of any sold anywhere. Last week's average raw was 26. This week's average raw was 15. That's a 42% decrease in value. The average raw prior to the trailer, $5. But get this, no raw sale higher than $2 prior to February of 2022. I'm going to show you what's even more alarming. This is eBay right now. Look at all these books that are posted. $20 buy it now, $18.99 buy it now, $19.95, $15. So all of these prices are well under the highs and the averages. $15. Here's a $3.99 with not even one bid on it. $21.99. $4 with not even one bid on it. Looks like it's been up there for a day. $19.99, $24.95, $29.99, $40, $29, $30. There's so many of them. $35, $40, $25, $23.99, $29.99, $34. The list, I mean, it goes on. Nobody's buying this book or even bidding on it. Nobody is buying this book or even bidding on it. Less than 2 weeks after the hype. So if you ask me, do I give this book props or flops? I give this book a huge, fat flops. Folks, this is a prime example of people thinking that either they're going to try to go after this book to flip, or that they get that fear of missing out and they think that this book is going to do something. This was a dollar bin, 50-cent book all day long. And I'm not saying that a 50-cent and dollar bin books can't gain value. That's not what I'm saying. But we gotta look at each individual situation. Nobody cared about this book before. Nobody cared about this character. I doubt this, and I'm not going to sit and act like I'm familiar with this character, because I'm not. But because I'm not familiar with the character probably shows that I do not think this character is going to play a big role. I don't think anybody is going to care about this character in the future. Whoever paid $50 for this book, I hope they're made of money. That's just my personal opinion, folks. I don't see this book doing absolutely anything. It's absolutely crazy to see how quick this book went from, having an average sale of 15 plus copies of 26 with the high raw of 20. You sell 3 books earlier this week. The highest one was 20. And now nobody's buying it for under 20. Nobody's even bidding on it for $3, $4, or $5 at this point. This is probably one of the biggest flops that I feel I can give for a book on this segment. So I do have this book. I do believe I got it. If I remember correctly, I got it from either an A1 Comics 50-cent patio sale or from the Empire's Vault Comics quarter patio sale. So I either paid 25 cents or 50 cents for it. I don't know, folks. Look, hey, if you could go find this book for a couple dollars in back issue somewhere, hey, have at it, right? Maybe you could sell a couple and for $4 and double your money. I don't know, but in terms of any speculation, it's just the crazy emotional reactions that we are putting so much into with this live action Spec stuff. Anytime we see, I keep saying it, we could see Joe's cousin's second wife's uncle's left toe in a trailer and go Spec on their book and jump up and spend $50 to $100, $200 on it. It's absolutely crazy, folks. All right. We got one more book on the list today. My number one pick, everyone, is Marvel Team Up, number 121. This is the first appearance of Frogman, who is the son of Leapfrog. And both of their first appearances made the list today, or last week, because of the fact that we saw either one of them in the She-Hulk trailer. It looks like She-Hulk will be defending them in the show, and we don't know who it is. Even Key Collectors came out and said it could be either or. We don't know, but let's look at these numbers. 326% upward trend in sales. That's pretty decent. Last week's high, 9.8, $550. This week's 9.8s, none. There is only 37 on the census, and I believe there's only 6 9.6s on the census. Last week's average raw, 34. This week's average raw, 44. So a 29% bump. So it's still moving. I like the Marvel Team Up series. I'm a Spider-Man fan. It's a Bronze Age book. I have this book. I might even have one for sale on my upcoming show. So am I going to give it props or flops just because I might be selling one next week on my Whatnot sale? Frogman or Leapfrog? Well, let's say this. What if it's Leapfrog and not Frogman? What's going to do with this book? This book that, again, not a lot of people cared about. You know, some people did. There's 37 9.8s on the census. I think there's only 50-something overall graded. This book wasn't a dollar bin book or a $2 bin book for a very, very long time. But it's definitely jumped. I think if from when I was researching sales, even earlier in the year, I think the book was selling for, like $15 or some $15 sales, somewhere around there. Props or flops? If it's Leapfrog, will this book even matter once that show airs? If it is Frogman, what's that going to mean for this character? I might have this book up for sale in my next Whatnot show. I got to give it a flops. I got to give it a flops, folks. I don't care if I'm selling one or not. Again, it's crazy. Let's put things into perspective. The MCU is 14 years in the making. And they haven't even scratched the surface on characters that they can introduce. They built the first 12 years on a very solid few core players, right? And now that a lot of those core players are gone, they're expanding. Now we have Disney Plus. We don't just have movies. We're going to see new characters introduced at a more rapid pace. This is my thing, folks. I like first appearances, even of minor characters. Call them minor keys, whatever. Maybe there's a little bit of demand there to make them not dollar bin books. But I believe that a lot of these minor characters that are minor in the comics are going to have similar roles in the MCU. It's going to reflect. Can they take somebody that had a minor role, bring him into a larger role? Well, look what they did with Harlow on Moon Knight for Ethan Hawke's character. Dr. Harrow. They took that character and used him within a whole, 6-episode season, when in the comics he only showed up once. So cool, right? They could do that. But for the most part, they haven't even scratched the surface on A-list characters and top-list characters that they can use and that they're going to use over the next decade or 2 decades. Frogman, folks, I'm sorry, in my humble opinion, isn't going to be one of them. We know that this She-Hulk show is going to be humorous. Frogman is going to show up for humor. For humor. I don't see if $550 for this book in a 9.8. You want to know my opinion on why that's sold? There's only 37 of them on the census. And after the trailer dropped, one person put it up for sale on eBay. And people got into a bidding war. and they bid it up like crazy. It's that simple. And all it took was a couple people wanting it. Me. I have to have. $550 could buy you so many other key books that have precedent. You can buy a low to mid grade early ASM for $550. Graded. You could probably get a first appearance of Craven in a low grade. Low grades increase in value and bring ROI too, folks. First appearance of Ned Leeds, which I do believe is that the third appearance of Sandman as well. You could get the second appearance of Green Goblin. These are all ASM books under 20, under issue 20. These books over the last few years some of them have tripled in value. But I guess because it's a 9.8, some collectors think, oh, it's a 9.8. Since it's a 9.8 Frogman, it's better than a 4.0 second appearance of Green Goblin. Mind-boggling. But hey, that's just my opinion, folks. So, look, if I bring this up for sale on my whatnot sale, depending on the condition, I'll probably start it at maybe $2. And then y'all can have at it. But for me right now, it's crazy. Even $30 to $40 for this book. That's just me. We'll see. Maybe I'll eat my words. And if I do, you guys come back to me when this book continues to rise and rise over the next year or so. And hey, I'll own up to where I was wrong. But those are my picks for this week, folks. Thank you so much for watching. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below, but we're not done here yet. I do got to say a huge thank you to all of my patrons for another month of continued support. I appreciate you all. Be ready and on the lookout for another giveaway, Patreon only giveaway, and we will be having the live stream for the month of May, Q&A live stream for my patrons. That will be coming up next week. I'll be posting on my Patreon page updates there very soon. And of course, a big shout out to all of my YouTube channel members. Thank you all so much. I will be having another giveaway for you all as well. If you guys are interested, you can click that join button below. That's only $1.99 a month for early access to videos and random giveaways as well. And you get to just continue to support the channel. Thank you guys so much. Be well, and until next time.